Welcome back to John Dawson Disc Golf. There's something this game does to you that almost no other sport does in quite the same way. It humbles you. Not occasionally and dramatically, but routinely and quietly, in a way that becomes part of the rhythm of the game. By the way, if you're new here, I'm John Dawson. I'm 54 and I play almost every day, and I'm still trying to understand why this game has become such a big part of my life. And one reason might be this strange relationship we all develop with trees. There's a very specific kind of disappointment that only disc golfers truly understand. You step up to a tee pad and you see the gap clearly. You visualize the line and commit to the release. Your body feels ready. You pull through confidently. And then the disc hits the first available tree 5 feet in front of you. Not a dramatic kick deep into the woods. Not a near miss, just a dull, immediate thud. Deflation. If I'm playing alone and not taking things too seriously, I'll just go up and walk up, grab the disc, and mentally pretend the throw never happened. No speech, no visible frustration, just reset and move on. But if I'm playing with someone, it hits differently. There's a flicker of irritation, and sometimes it creeps into my head. I think, John, get it together. That was such a stupid throw. Not unlikely, not Rob, just stupid. What's interesting is that even when no one is watching, there's still a sense of exposure. You know what you intended, and you know what you executed. There's no negotiating with that gap between intention and reality. Disc golf does not let you negotiate reality. If you hit a tree, you hit a tree, and trees are undefeated. I don't really blame the disc when that happens. Now, some players will say the disc flipped weird, or it dumped early, or it betrayed them in some mystical way. Well, that's not how my brain works. The disc is almost sacred to me. If something went wrong, it was my grip, or my angle, or my timing. Maybe I grip locked. Maybe I rushed the release. Maybe I flinched at the last second. But it's on me. And I think that's part of why this sport works on you. There's nowhere to hide. There's this hole at Hornet's Nest that humbles almost everyone. And it's hole 15. You might know it. There's that tight gap immediately off the tee and a left mano that essentially forces you to commit to the line. Those two trees guarding the opening have taken thousands of direct hits over the years. You can almost feel their accumulated trauma. Every time I step up to that tee pad, I have to make a decision. Do I focus on the trees or do I focus on the basket? It reminds me of driving on the highway. If you stare at the lines immediately in front of you, your hood, you're overcorrect. But if you lift your eyes and look further down the road, the car tracks straight almost automatically. Well, the same thing sort of happens here. If I stare at the trunks, I hit the trunks. But if I focus on the intended line and the target in the distance, my body tends to follow. Not perfectly every time, of course, but more often than not. And when I don't commit, when I hesitate or get cautious, the tree delivers immediate feedback. Humility. Delivered. What makes disc golf unique is that this humility is constant. Ball golf, on the other hand, has trees and hazards, but much of it is wide open fairway and open landing zones. But wooded disc golf is intimate and technical and constrained. It asks you to shape something precise through something imperfect. And because of that, failure isn't rare, it's normal. You clip branches you didn't see. You catch late trees, you get unpredictable kicks. You are reminded over and over that you are not fully in control. And maybe that's part of the hook. I've never consciously thought I needed a sport that humbles me. I'm not drawn to humiliation for its own sake, but I do think we're missing honest resistance in other parts of modern life. So much of modern life now is curated and filtered and negotiable. You can delete the post. You can rewrite the email. You can smooth the edges and shift the narrative. A tree doesn't care about your narrative. A tree doesn't adjust for your ego. You throw what you throw, and it responds. It's frustrating, but it's clean. And what happens after the tree hit is where it gets interesting. You don't get to re-tee in a normal round and pretend you're perfect. You walk to the lie you've earned, and then you throw again. That rhythm of failure, adjustment, and then execution repeats dozens of times in a single round. Over time, though, it builds something. It builds patience, because anger tightens your grip and tightness rarely helps. It builds self-awareness because you start to recognize your tendencies. Do you get aggressive when you shouldn't? Do you get timid when you need to commit? Do you spiral after one bad kick? Or can you reset? Disc golf quietly exposes those patterns. When you're walking through the woods alone with nothing but your thoughts and a bag of discs, it's hard to hide from yourself. The game mirrors your reactions back to you in a small but consistent way. And yet, despite all that humility, we keep coming back. That's the part I find fascinating. We return to the trees that embarrassed us. We return to the tight gaps that exposed our hesitation. We return to the holes that check our ego over and over again. Why? I think it's because deep down, we recognize that the resistance is shaping us. The humility isn't punishment, it's refinement. Every time you hit a tree and have to regroup, you're practicing how to handle imperfection. Every time you take a bad kick and still find a way to salvage the hole, you're practicing resilience. It's not just about throwing plastic through woods. It's about learning how to respond when reality doesn't cooperate. Disc golf doesn't flatter you. It doesn't protect you from your own mistakes. It hands you a lie and says, "This is what you got. Throw again." And maybe that's not harsh. Maybe that's just honest. Maybe the tree isn't your enemy. Maybe it's your teacher. If this resonates with you, I'd love to hear about your humbling hole. Is there a gap that always checks your ego, or a tree that you secretly hate and secretly respect at the same time? And if these conversations are meaningful to you, consider scribing. I'm exploring these questions in real time, and I'd be glad to have you along for the journey. As always, thank you so much for being here on John Dawson Disc Golf.